Last week in Psalm 45, I meant to give you all a footnote um, on verses 6 and 7. I told you that Jesus' last name was not Christ. That's his title, but there's a fella, and y'all probably read some of his stuff, called R.C. Sproul. He does a really good paper on this. And it's called Jesus Christ the Anointed One, if you ever want to read it. Let's see where we're at now. All right. Last week we got through Psalm 47. And Psalm 46, 47, and 48 talk about Christ's kingdom. And 46 was about its arrival. 47 was about its range. And Psalm 48 is about its center. C-E-N-T-E-R. Psalm 48 says, a song and song for the sons of Korah. But it's really pronounced Karak. And I believe that the choir sings this song here sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. It says, great is the Lord and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in the mountain of his holiness. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the city of the great King. This sides of the north appears in Isaiah chapter 14. If you want to turn there, I call this the five eyes. Isaiah 14, starting at verse 12, says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend unto heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. The five eyes. I. But he admits here, says, I will be like the Most High. You can't be better or greater than the Most High. Even Satan realizes that. But the sides of the north, in Zion here they believe is Jerusalem. But I think it goes deeper than that. I think it's more spiritual than that. But I just feel that. I don't know, I don't have anything to prove that. There's a lot more going on there than we understand, or than I understand anyway. Verse 3 says, God is known in her palaces for a refuge. I like that. For lo, the kings were assembled, they passed by together, they saw it, and so they marveled. They were troubled and hasted away. Fear took hold upon them there, and pain as of a woman in travail. Thou breakest the ships of Tarshish with an east wind. Lord, I read so much stuff on this. And it's believed that wherever time this is writ, what it's referring to is all the kings of the earth were assembling themselves together to assault the city of God. This is future. But when they say the greatness of the one that's protecting it, fear takes hold upon them. They have pain as a woman in travail. And they cut out. They're out of there because they don't want to be broke up like ships. The ships of Tarshish with an east wind. And when it's talking about the ships of Tarshish, along the coast of Tarshish is real rocky, bad. So if they get an east wind and they're not far enough out, they can't tack enough to get off the coast, and it breaks the ships apart. So this is what people seems to be the consensus that this is alluding to, that sometime in the future that the kings of the earth will assemble themselves together. And it tells us there that the nations of the world will be assembled against Israel. So is that the thing it's referring to? I don't know, but what I really like there is once they finally realize who is protecting the place, they're getting out of Dodge. I like that. Yeah, I like it. It says, as we have heard, so have we seen in the city of the Lord of hosts, in the city of our God. God will establish it forever, Selah. And that Selah, I like that pause for the first 8 verses. It's saying to consider this, think on it, chew on it. We have thought of thy loving kindness, O God, in the midst of thy temple. According to thy name, O God, so is thy praise unto the ends of the earth. Thy right hand is full of righteousness. Let Mount Zion rejoice. Let the daughters of Judah be glad because of thy judgments. Walk about Zion and go round about her. Tell the towers thereof. Mark ye well her bulwarks. Mark ye well to set your heart or to consider. So consider her bulwarks. Consider her palaces, that ye may tell it to the generation following. For this God is our God forever and ever, and he will be our God even unto death. And is this talking about the millennium? I don't know. I read so much different stuff on this, and there's so many varied opinions, but there's more opinions leaning towards so I don't know. You can read till you turn blue. I don't know. I don't know. Has anybody got anything before we go to Psalm 49? Psalm 49. This psalm is written to everybody. All the inhabitants of the world. Says to the chief musician. There are 3 chief musicians, and we'll get into that in the next psalm, I think. But to the chief musician, a psalm for the sons of Korah. Says, hear this, all ye people, give ear, all ye inhabitants of the world. Both low and high, rich and poor together. My mouth shall speak of wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall be of understanding. So this is the psalmist telling you this. I will incline mine ear to a parable. I will open my dark saying upon the heart. Well, dark saying here is a riddle, a parable, or something that has a hidden meaning. So he's saying, my mouth will speak of wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall be of understanding. I will incline my ear to hear a parable, and I will open my dark saying upon the heart. And the gist of this, the best I can understand it, he is going to play the harp and sing this so that it might be better, easier understood to whoever's listening, which should be the whole planet, according to the way this reads. It says, wherefore should I fear in the days of evil, when the iniquity of my heels should compass me about? He's saying here that he doesn't have any reason to fear, but others do. They that trust in their wealth and boast themselves in the multitude of their riches. None of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to God a ransom for him. For the redemption of their soul is precious. And you can put costly right there too. And it ceases forever. Salvation is not offered forever. You know, you've got some opportunities in this life. But salvation is not for sale, is what he's saying here. They that trust in their wealth and boast themselves of the multitude of their riches, none of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to God a ransom for him. I found a thing, and if you think about it, this verse 8, for the redemption of their soul is costly or precious, and it ceaseth forever. The atoning blood of Christ is being writ about right here. 800 years, give or take, before the cross ever took place. The atoning blood of Christ. But I found a quote from Spurgeon. I know y'all bound to have read some Spurgeon. It said, a king's ransom would be of no avail. A Monte Rosa of rubies. A Monte Rosa is the Mount Rosa. It's in Switzerland. And it's 15,203 feet high. So 15,203 foot of mountain of rubies won't buy it. An America of silver, a world of gold, a sun of diamonds could be utterly contemned. That means despised, scorned, or looked down upon. Salvation is not for sale. It was paid for by Christ. You know, like Brother Johnny was preaching Wednesday night. You know, God, when you turn down an offer of a gift, it insults the gift giver. You know, Lord knows how many times I insulted the Lord. I hate to say that. You know. But I like that. A king's ransom would be of no avail. A Monte Rosa of rubies, an America of silver, a world of gold, a sun of diamonds could be utterly contemned. Contempted. I'm sorry. Yeah. Verses 9 and 10, talking about the same person, that he should still live forever and not see corruption. For he seeth that wise men die, likewise the fool and the brutish person perish, and leave their wealth to others. You can't take nothing with you. You know, but you can move it forward. You can lay up treasures in heaven. You know. Matthew chapter 6, I believe. I got so many bookmarks I can't keep up. And this is going to be the Lord speaking. Matthew chapter 6, starting about verse 19. It says, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. We can't take a thing with us, but we can move it on ahead, you know. I come across a quote by a guy named Jim Elliot. And it's pretty dang simple, but it's good. It says, he is no fool who gives up what he cannot keep to gain that which he cannot lose. pretty deep. I'll read it again. He is no fool who gives up what he cannot keep to gain that which he cannot lose. I like that. Anybody got anything for a move on? All right. Verse 11 says, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Nevertheless, man, being in honor, abideth not. He is like the beasts that perish. This, their way, is their folly. Yet their posterity, or future generations, approve their sayings. Selah. Those that trust in material things and do not invest in spiritual things are foolish, is what he's saying. And those that are around them, that's the last part of verse 13, those that are around them that stand to gain by their demise are going to agree with them. You know, if you have a wealthy person, the generations that the posterity, the future generations of his bloodline or whatever, are most likely going to benefit from his wealth. So whatever he says is good, you know. But the psalmist is saying here, don't trust in material things. You better be investing in spiritual things. But then the world we live in is aimed at that, wound towards that. I mean, how much of your life have you given to the dollar to pay bills? I mean, the good Lord tells us we got to work to eat, but the way the system's set up, it's crazy. I mean, the banking system is upside down and backwards. If I don't know if y'all know this, how it works or not. If I deposit $10,000 into the banking system, the way the rules are writ, they can loan 10 times that amount. So if I deposit $10,000, they can loan out $100,000 off of that. Now, that math don't work with me even if I take my shoes off. You know? What's that, buddy? Well, you know, it makes no sense except, okay, so what's a savings account bringing now? 2.5%? 2%? 0.10. What's a T-bill bringing? It's bringing 3.5. So, when you put your money in a savings account in the bank, they take that money and give you chump change. Well, they buy T-bills from the Treasury and take that interest and apply it. But you can figure however much a bank has on deposit. And all this is backed up by the Federal Reserve, which is not liquid either. If you squeeze them out, it would be another mess. There's no liquid there. I read an article by a guy that said if you took the stock market and wrung out all the liquidity of it, it might be worth a quarter of what they're showing. Might be. But that's the way the system is set up. They want to. The book tells us that the borrower is servant to the lender. But now, they've made it easy for years to borrow money. They're tightening up now because they're starting to panic. Just last week, a pretty large bank failed. They had all kinds of capital to loan, but nobody met the requirements because they're so far in debt already. Their debt-to-income ratio, they're up in the 160 percentile range. So they're 60% over what they make already, and they're wanting to borrow some more money. Oh, my goodness. But that system was what got them in that shape. I'm just trying to point out how the system works. It's just a mess, a mess. Um, but don't put your trust in material things. Invest in the spiritual things. It says, like sheep that are laid in the grave, death shall feed on them, and the upright shall have dominion over them in the morning, and their beauty shall consume in the grave from their dwelling. Interesting here, it says, death shall feed them. But in the Hebrew, it says, death shall be their shepherd. Okay? So we, humans, at death, are just as powerless as a sheep is in life to protect itself. A sheep has no defense. None. Well, we have no defense against death if we are not redeemed. Okay? That's what he's trying to tell us here. Right. If you're redeemed. If you're not redeemed, yeah. Verse 15, and I love this right here. This is the psalmist saying, but God will redeem my soul from the power of the grave, for he shall receive me. And if you go all the way back here to verse 5, it says, wherefore should I fear in the days of evil? And that's referencing what Brother Raymond said, to live as Christ and to die as gain. If you're a child of the King, it don't matter. You have an expected end and an expected future. The person that is not, I don't want to be in that is not category. Verse 16 says, be not thou afraid when one is made rich, when the glory of his house is increased. Don't worry about the prosperity of evildoers. This might be the only joy they know ever. Okay? So be thou not afraid when one is made rich, when the glory of his house is increased, for when he dieth, he shall carry nothing away. Can't take nothing with you. His glory shall not descend after him. Though, while he lived, he blessed his soul, so he lived it up while he was here. He lived it up. And men will praise thee when thou doest well to thyself. That's not good. He shall go to the generations of his fathers, they shall never see light. Man that is in honor and understandeth not is like the beasts that perish. This is the same thing. The unredeemed man goes into the ground just like an animal. But if you have invested in spiritual things, you have an expected end and an expected future. Dark sayings. I like that. A riddle. Anybody got anything before we go to verse 50? Psalm 50. All right. Okay, go ahead, buddy. Right. put what Brother Tony's saying in a nutshell, is a song has power. You know, it helps you to remember. It can bring about emotional responses. I mean, if you study on Satan, he was the worship leader in heaven. He could make music through his body. However that works, I don't know. But music is powerful, good or bad. It's powerful, you know. Thank you, brother. Anybody else?
Brother Keith was saying that, to me, the song is an inspiration way of bringing myself back to what we've been discussing about God himself. I mean, if he's forever, as we said at the end of that song, like 40 and if it's easy to remember, Tony said that one before, back when we first started with the song about how it's easy to memorize. Well, if we've got a song that we hear like on the radio or something like that, we can recollect that.
Right.
And the way the songs are, it's an inspiration of God to be able to recollect what's real in our lives.
Well, and I think that's the reason that psalmist done this psalm the way it's done, because that's some important stuff right there.
Amen. Amen.
Invest in spiritual
That's
things.
basically what I was saying.
Yeah. Brother Mark was saying that, you know, that song will help us to remember what really matters, that song. You know, and as I read through these psalms, I can remember, I can hear people singing in my head some of these songs from years, you know, I can hear it. But now Psalm 50, I like this psalm. I like them all, but I like the way this is laid out. Psalm 50 is a psalm of Asaph. Amon, Asaph, and Ethan were the three top worship leaders in the temple. And this is, I think this is the first one of Asaph that we've come across so far since we've been in Psalms. But this psalm is really focused towards the Jewish people, the best that I can understand this. It says, the mighty God, even the Lord. No, I didn't get past it. The mighty God, even the Lord, hath spoken and called the earth from his rising of the sun unto the going down thereof. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, God hath shined. Our God shall come and shall not keep silence. A fire shall devour before him, and it shall be very tempestuous round about him. He shall call to the heavens from above, and to the earth, that he may judge his people. He's calling for many witnesses right here, is what he's calling for. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. And the heavens shall declare his righteousness, for God is judge himself. Selah. Telling you to think on this. He's calling all of them that have made a covenant with him before him. He's getting ready to be some judgment, it sounds like. And what's interesting here is this is Old Testament. And the heavens shall declare his righteousness, for God is judge himself. Hello. All right. If you'll go to, I just wrote it down. John chapter 5, verse 22 is Jesus speaking. So this is the new covenant. This was the old covenant, sacrifices. The new covenant. Jesus speaking, it says, for the Father judgeth no man, but has committed all judgment unto the Son. So Jesus is going to be the judge. Okay? He's going to be the judge. Well, I mean, before it was the blood of bulls and goats was the covenant. Well, now it's the blood of Jesus Christ is the covenant that I've made, many of you here have made with Jesus. He's going to judge it. And then he's going to judge everybody else. Okay? Man, I hate to get into this and get halfway and stop. She give me the sign. Let me see here what we can do. We might. No, I got too much scripture for that. Be careful we pick that up next Sunday. That way. In Psalm 51, which is one of my favorite psalms, I hope we can get through it next week. I'll get behind in here earlier. All right. Anybody got anything before we close out? All right. Take your break. See what the preacher doing a service today.